Hi there, thought I'd do another video soon after the other one just because I thought of something to talk about. Through browsing through YouTube and such, I found a few people that talk about the things they use, their relationships and such, which is pretty cool. But there seems to be a distinct lack of men giving their opinions, their thoughts, or details on how their relationships and their identities on the fetish scene and such, and I thought I'd do something to do with that and to talk about that. Although in person I generally talk about almost anything, because I feel like connecting with people is an aim in life. I don't really have many goals in life. I just strive towards being happy and having fun and being the best person I can and connecting with people. And I connect people, or I want to connect to people via talking and exchanging of ideas. And yeah, that's my way of doing it. So I will generally talk a lot about where I am, the people who I'm dating or playing with or hanging out with. I'm forever full of stories of dates and hanging out with friends and play sessions and such. But I find it harder to talk about most of it here and put it out on YouTube, even though I will talk about it with practically anyone if they ask. So, but yeah, I just wanted to try and put it out there that, or at least be a face of a male person, male identifying person would probably be better, on the fetish scene, and talk about how it's been for me. I think I've covered it before, how I started. Long story short, I'd put off joining FetLife for years. It was one of the only social networking sites that I held back from. I've had practically every blogging platform, practically every other social networking site, Friendster, before MySpace, then Facebook, then all the blogging sites, live journals, Anger, so many, I can't even bloody remember now. High Five, again, just ones that are sort of popular in other countries, but not so much here. And I held off for it for a good 3, 4, possibly even 5 years. A friend of mine was just, every so often they would tell me, go, just join up, see what it's like, do it. And I never did. And then in about October or November 2013, they lost their rag with me and just went, God, just join up. And then I was like, oh, okay. And I did. And was filling up profile as you usually do, on many different sites. And it came to, on FetLife, adding fetishes, which is very much like Facebook, where you click to add and then it shows up on your profile, and then people can talk to you about those things or whatever. It's there for people to look at. So I'm clicking, adding, half hour later, keep going, Google that one, click, add, 45 minutes later, still going, click, add, Google, hour later, still going. The penny's finally starting to drop after about an hour or so. I'm like, oh, maybe I'm a little bit more into this than I thought. Then I just interacted with people, sent messages to, tried to read some groups, tried to find out what the etiquette was, because there's a lot of do's and don'ts when you're on any social networking site, let alone somewhere like FetLife, where you can see so much and upload so much and show a lot of different sides to yourself and others. So there's quite a lot of etiquette to try and understand and learn. But the main thing, like any social networking site, is don't be a dick. Approach people with normal respect as you would any stranger. Don't just send copy and paste messages to random people and bark orders and expect things from people, because you won't get it and you shouldn't do it. It's rude, it's wrong. Anyway, so about 2 months later I ended up going to Munch. I might actually include a link to what a Munch is. The wiki page is quite good. Long story short, Munch is a get together of kinky people and people on the fetish scene, BDSM scene, and in the UK it's generally in back rooms of pubs or private rooms where people meet up generally once a month to hang out, socialise, talk about anything and everything, whether it's play, whether it's new toys, what's happening outside in the outside world, work, friends, family, everything. And there's so many. When living in London, you could go to a Munch practically, I would say, 25 days out of a 30-day month. There are Munches all over the place, depending on where you live in London. If you drove, you could probably do one every single day. Now, I know this is not the case for other towns around the UK. I have a partner who lives in Cardiff, and they have very little in the way of Munches. They have a few, but they have even less play clubs. They have to go out of town. A lot of people from that area go to things like BBB, which I think is the Birmingham Bazaar, which isn't too far for them. And yeah, and then other towns, again, it's the same, but we are very, very spoiled in London for events. I've got friends who run several different events, work at different events, run different Munches and such. We are very, very spoiled. And generally, we do have a lot of really good people on the scene. Everywhere and anywhere there are the bad eggs and the bad apples that upset things and are not good people. Yeah, it can be really hard to navigate your way through. And I think why there might be a lack of sort of male presence or dominant presence on something like YouTube is because we're the ones dealing out or giving the results that people have, so bruises and more. And I believe the UK law is you cannot consent to your own abuse. So when someone's talking about hitting and beating people, even if it's the other person is willing and wanting it to happen, you can get in so much trouble. You can get nicked. I mean, I've left the house with either one of my tote bags or one of my rucksacks full of implements that could get me arrested. It's a simple answer. I actually put up a photo of a new paddle and another item, put it up on Instagram, which went straight to my Facebook, which went straight to my Twitter, which went straight to my Tumblr. And a very nice friend messaged me and said, you need to take that down, because one of those items is actually street illegal. Owning it and having it in your house, tenuous. But to be out with it and to have actually paid money for it and said that this company or this person has made that would get them in trouble because they've made it, and it's illegal to make it and sell it. Well, I don't know about make it, but at least sell it, which is, yeah. So actually being a dominant person on any social network really is, especially now with the UK porn laws have come in and all the other sort of restrictions that are coming about, it's going to be hard. Does that mean we should stay silent? It means there's going to be a lot less people to speak up and say something and put themselves out there. I mean, I've been living pretty openly about being on the scene for 2 or so years. I've got it up on my Instagram, people on my Facebook know about it generally. My parents are on the scene, so I don't really have to hide it through any of them, which is great, and I know how lucky I am for that. So it's hard. It's hard for dominant people, I think, especially in the moment in the UK. But I don't think being silent and hiding away is going to do any good, because it'd just perpetuate the myths. I saw a friend recently who I hadn't seen in a good 8 or so plus years, and I was catching them up on everything that I'd done in the last couple of years, because I hadn't seen them since my wedding, actually, which was 2008. I might have seen them once, but I was just basically telling them about where I am, what I'm doing, who are my partners, and running events and working at events, etc., etc. And they just couldn't believe it. And they actually said to me, it's like, so do you actually like do the hitting and hit people? I was like, well, yeah. It's like, you, I can't believe. Oh, wait a minute, yes, I can believe it. You and your family, okay, that makes sense. But they were still in a little bit of shock about it. So I told them all about it, told them all about partners, and we had a good laugh. And yeah, it was really good to see them, actually. I might actually send this video to them, because, yeah. But hey, anyway. Well, I've kind of gone off on one. Nothing new, really. But I'm always willing to answer questions if people want to put questions on the video or send them to me privately, and I can cover it in another video or something. That's absolutely fine. Questions about FetLife, questions about running events or being at events. I dungeon monitor at another event, which basically means that I walk around and look important. I make sure people are being safe, people are behaving themselves. Yeah, and I've done that at several different events, but I mainly do it at the Rabbit Hole Club at the moment, which is awesome, good fun, at Murder Mile Studios. Side note, the owners of Murder Mile, one of them is the drummer from At the Gates and his wife, and when I first found out that I was at a venue owned by one of my favourite bands ever, I totally freaked out. So, I love At the Gates. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, any questions or anything, just send them over, and I'll do my best to answer it. Hope I wasn't too rambly. Probably was. Nothing new. Anyway, take care, people.